Today we're making dirty rice. This is one of the most flavorful rice dishes ever, and it is absolutely amazing. I've gone back and revisited my personal favorite dirty rice recipe and have revamped it so that it is easier and more consistent to make at home. I'm so excited to share this one. Let me show you how I make it. Now, as I do with any recipe, I'm gonna gather all my ingredients and I'm going to chop anything that needs chopping. We'll wash and chop. And you don't wanna waste your time making them too small either. We are not done with our cutting board. Got one more thing to chop. The last thing I'm gonna chop and prep are my chicken livers. Now, I love a dirty rice with chicken livers. I understand it is not for everyone. So if you don't want to use them, then just don't. However, I think chicken livers gives it that authentic dirty rice flavor. So I'm always gonna use it, but ew, they're gross. Anyways, so I'm gonna go ahead and chop these because when I cook my ground pork, I don't want big chunks of chicken liver in there, so I'm just gonna give it a quick choppy chop. Ground meat, whatever ground meat you're using, whether it's ground pork, beef, but when you cook the chicken livers with it, you want it to kind of get lost up in it as well. So it's just easier to give it a good mincing beforehand. Whew. All right, so we're almost done with our prep and then we can start cooking. So I'm using some extra long grain rice. I'm gonna start by rinsing my rice. I'm gonna rinse this a few times. I've got to move on. I've got things to do. Now I've moved over to my stove and I'm gonna show you what I do on the stove. Yeah, all right. I'm adding my rinsed rice to my container. Woo. I made a mess. Broth. As well as some water. I'm gonna mix that a little. And I wanna cook the rice separately because this is what's gonna give you more consistent results when it comes to your rice. So I'm gonna bring that to a boil, lower it to a simmer, and allow it to cook for about 18 minutes. Then I'm gonna let it steam for about 5 minutes before I proceed. All right, so now that I've got that simmer, I'm gonna go ahead and cover that. I'm gonna let that cook, and now it's time for me to make my dirty part of my rice. All right, so I've got a pot preheating over medium high-ish heat, and I'm gonna go ahead and add that pork to it, as well as my livers. I'm gonna go ahead and brown these at the same time and mix it all together. And that is gonna be our meat flavoring to our recipe. And there is fat in that ground pork, so I don't bother adding any oil. This is a nonstick skillet, but even if it weren't nonstick, I haven't had any issues with any sticking when I just add the meat to the skillet. While you're cooking that up, you wanna make sure you're breaking it up into smaller pieces. You can see I'm still cooking and stirring. And you'll notice I don't have pretty much of any grease in here. But sometimes, depending on the fat content of your pork or your beef or whatever you're using, you may have an excess amount of grease. If you find that you have an excess amount of grease, feel free to drain it at this step, as you're trying to make sure that you don't have any pink spots, right? So you want to cook this thoroughly. My arm getting tired. Now at this stage, I'm going to go ahead and add in those chopped veggies. That is our onions, our bell peppers, and our celery. And I like to throw in my garlic at this time too. I know there's a lot of cooking advice that says don't put your garlic in too early, it will burn. But because I've already got a bunch of meat and vegetables in there, it'll be fine. And I'm just gonna stir this in and cook this until those vegetables are softened, about 3 to 4 minutes, maybe 5. Smells amazing. All right, so my onions and peppers have softened a bit, so I'm gonna go ahead and add in my seasoning, which will be my Creole seasoning and some thyme, as well as some Worcestershire sauce and some good old hot sauce. I'm using Texas Pete hot sauce. It's not too spicy, but does add flavor. Use whatever favorite brand you want to use as well, or you can leave it out. It's your recipe. Do what you want. I'm gonna mix that through. I'm gonna turn this heat off and my rice should be done in a few minutes. So my rice has finished cooking. I let it sit for 5 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and open it. As you can see, it's perfectly cooked. Yum, yum. So I'm gonna go ahead and just give this a little bit of a fluff in this before I add it to that big old skillet of dirty rice. Not dirty rice, but the, you know what I mean, the meat mixture. I'm gonna stir it all together. And one of the reasons why I like cooking the rice separately, rather than doing it all in one pot, this also allows you the ability to use whatever kind of rice you want, whether it's brown rice, long grain, jasmine, whatever. I'm gonna add that rice directly to that skillet. Plop. And you wanna make sure that you stir this very, very well, because you wanna make sure that you don't want just like a bite of rice. You want rice and meat and everything in one bite. Before I finish mixing, I am gonna add my parsley and I'm just gonna mix that through the rice as well. And there you have it. You have made some delicious dirty rice. Whew. Here's our dirty rice. Now it's time to plate her up and enjoy. This is so good. That right there is absolutely delicious. And our method of cooking the rice separately allows every kernel of rice to be absolutely perfectly cooked. It's not too mushy, it's not too dry. It's perfect. All right guys, until the next time,